Josh Wilson, thank you for, should I say Reverend?
Josh is fine. My name
Pastor.
is Josh. My name is Josh. Pastor's my office. Reverend.
Pastor Josh Wilson. Okay.
We're just talking. It's all good.
Okay. Thank you so much for agreeing to speak to us about the experience of worship in Reading. How were you born in Reading, or did you move here as a child?
No, born in Reading. Born in at the Dalewood Hospital when it was a maternity. Between me and you and the gatepost, 1968.
Okay.
And so born in Reading, both parents Jamaican, so 100% Jamaican blood.
You're looking as if you can see.
I was like, there it is, it's flowing, it's flowing. And, but obviously proper, I'm a Reading lad. That's me, through and through.
Yes, through and through. What's a Reading lad?
What's a Reading lad?
Yeah.
I'm just happy to be in the Royal County of Berkshire. Love it.
Fantastic.
I love Reading.
Great. Well, I obviously came and didn't leave, so I must like it too.
It's something good.
Yes. So what was your early experience of church in your family and in the community?
Okay, so there's a song that says about the son of a preacher man. I'm that boy. So I was born to Pastor Lester Wilson. I'm the eldest son, and some would say, well, boy, you're going to preach. And I vowed as a 8-year-old that I would not let these church people turn me into the next Minister Wilson. I sit before you as Minister Wilson. God's got a sense of humour. But what was it like? It was like two different worlds. There was, at home was Little Jamaica, church was Little Jamaica personified, and school was Little England. And I had to learn different languages, different cultural things which were accepted. And I think I decided at a very early age to simplify everything, and that was take the good, and leave the bad.
In both worlds?
In both worlds, yeah.
Yes,
And I think it's helped me navigate the transition from boyhood to adulthood, and some of the issues that people get really, really stressed out about. I'm just like, yeah, well, maybe that might not be a race thing. That might actually just be a you thing, So.
Yes, you get a different perspective when you look at it differently, yes. And so did you grow up in your dad's church? Was that where you went?
Yep. Beth United Church of Jesus Christ Apostolic, Reading. And I did what I had to do. I learnt my Sunday school lesson and promptly forgot it, I thought. It wasn't out of choice, you will learn the script. Yes, sir. But really good, happy childhood memories as well. So it kind of can sound really severe, really strict, and it was at times, but I had a happy childhood, and church for me was fun. That's where my truest friends were, still are. And I loved it. Loved the food, loved the music, loved the dancing, and even now. Church is a good place to go for some stress relief and to get your groove on. So
yes, there's a
works for me.
Whole culture, isn't it?
Yeah,
really?
yeah.
Yes. So you were in the church. When have you ever left the churches, or have you carried on in the same church?
Have I ever left the church? Technically speaking, no. But you can go to church and not really go to church. So you can. I call it the difference between having religion and having a relationship with God. So I had to be at church, but there were times where I was going in name only, and I learnt a lot about life. I got a job on the open air market on a fruit and veg stall.
Right.
Yeah, just two complete opposites. And I learnt a lot about real people and different people. And street life and stuff, and it was a real education for which I'm really, really grateful.
How old were you at that time?
I was 12, but I told them I was older.
Okay,
sorry, Lord.
16 or something.
No, I got the job on the open air market, and I decided I'm going to do this, and by hook or by crook, loved it, and stayed there till I left school. Very good.
Okay. And how did your church life develop after that, from that time?
Okay, so, oh gosh, this is going to go on camera and everything, isn't it? I want to have to confess. Sorry, Mum. So, having decided that I wasn't going to let these church people turn me into the next Minister Wilson, but clearly I wasn't big enough or bad enough to say I'm not going to church anymore, I decided to play the game. And then when I was 16, I was my treat for passing my O-levels, I did well, was basically you could go to Canada for a month, stay with your grandmother. I was like, yes, this is my ticket out of here. And I literally just saved all my money. I had a sister that died when I was 8, and me and God had a tragic conversation. And I was just like, that's it, you know. And having gone from a place of never ever doubting that God was real, and it's like, well, okay, I know you do miracles. I see my dad pray for people with blind eyes, and they came back saying that they could see. And I'd be like, really? I was a child, so I don't know. But okay, maybe there's something in this miracle thing. So when I needed a miracle for my sister, and God didn't let it happen, I was furious. Yeah. So I said, okay. And to my shame, all of the other preachers out there, to my shame, I said, I'll see you in hell. And I felt like God literally smacked me on the shoulder, and I looked around as an 8-year-old boy thinking like, what was that? And God said, how dare you try and negotiate with me? And I was like, wow. So I became really scared, but then I was really stubborn. My wife would say I probably still am stubborn. Not so much.
Those up close know us better.
Not so much. Not so much. No. So from that age, I literally saved all my money. Yeah. Which is why the job at 12 was really important to me, and I was going to do it anyhow. And I went to Canada with a 2-way ticket, determined not to come back. My grandmother got wind of this, and rather than try and talk me out of it or tell me I had to go home, she said, no problem. But what you should do really is go back and finish your education. I'll send you a ticket. And I was like, no, it's all right, Grandma, I'll finish it here. And at the time, I really wanted to be a doctor. Yeah. So she eventually convinced me to come back. And in that transition, coming back, I really met God for myself and apologised for my rudeness and my waywardness. And yeah, cutting a long story short, Minister Wilson now sits before you. Yes. But whenever I speak to the church or I stand in front of God's people, I go back to that 8-year-old boy, and I never take it for granted. I'm never. No. Yeah. So
there's the 8-year-old, and then there's the 16-year-old who had that conversion story on the way back. Yeah. So you came back knowing that that's going to be part of your life going forward. Yeah. So what happened next with getting you to being a pastor? How did that sort of happen?
Well, I kind of said, well, the next phase of my journey was, well, okay, I can believe in God and I can be obedient to God, but I don't have to be like my dad. And that was fine. I became a businessman. I was running my own business, a little bit of an entrepreneur. And then my dad died, 2013. And me and God have this big, massive conversation again. And I was like, if anyone's going to heaven, it would have been my dad, like Mr. Faithful. And gosh, this is probably not what you intended to happen today. My dad had a heart attack preaching in Bristol.
Gosh. Oh.
Right, so somebody else's pulpit. Church has been in Reading for 45 years. We're renting other people's buildings and and the centre of the universe, the centre of the whole world is Bethel United, Birmingham. And I had an issue with that, because most of my friends were not Jamaican. And you can probably tell from the way I speak. And I love Reading, actually. So I was like, Dad, I get it, but actually, God is, John 3:16, for God so loved the world. And so I've got this issue happening inside. And my father dies, heart attack, church politics, long story short. And it suddenly becomes clear to me that I am the person best positioned to do my father's homegoing service the way he would have wanted it. And I was like, I don't believe this. The only way this is going to happen right, I'm going to do it myself. So I don't know where I got the strength from, but I buried my dad. We had it at the Globe, really good service.
Yeah.
Some people said that his homegoing service was like convocation rather than a funeral, which is what my dad would have wanted.
Yeah, that's lovely.
And in that whole transition, I think God does have a sense of humour.
Yeah, well, I was thinking that as well.
Yeah. I was like,
that was your training, your testing, your everything.
Absolutely.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
And I was like, church needs a pastor, and I can't let everything my dad's worked for. I can't just let it die.
Yeah.
And so I sat back for a couple of weeks and thought that there would be people coming on the Calvary.
No one came.
I'm like, the Lord will send somebody. And no.
And he kept saying, you.
So I had this conversation, again, massive conversation. I'm nothing like my dad. Nothing like my dad. To which, after a bit of radio silence, God says, you were never meant to be. I was like,
Yeah.
I was like, you do have a sense of humour. And I was like, well, if I'm going to do this, I have to do it my way. And God's like,
yeah, I thought nothing else.
Okay.
I was expecting that.
He's like, you're finally getting it. You know, I was like, okay. By which time I started a football team, and in order to kind of make the church more relevant to what I call normal people, as opposed to churchy people, whatever that means. Sorry, churchy people. but you know what I mean. And for me, it was all about keeping it real, and far less about religion and more about relationship. Yeah. And in so doing, I became the pastor of Beth United Reading. I put some trustees in place, and because of certain politics, and to make it clear that the church would be governed from Reading, not anywhere else in the world, we became the Spiritual Care Foundation, because we felt, the trustees and I felt, that that's what we want to be about. Right. We don't want to be about the dogma that can sometimes come with religion. I don't want to be contained to somebody else's box. Actually, we're here to help. And so that childhood dream of being a doctor, because I only ever wanted to help people, came in the vehicle that we now call spiritual care. Okay, so that's great. So is that the only spiritual care centre then that you've broken away from Beth? That is what, or not broken away, but kind of still have the relationships, and I'm still I still have an overseer in that organisation. But basically, it's about governance and about being able to follow the vision that I believe God's given me, and part of that is to serve this community here in the Thames Valley, and by hook or by crook, it shall be done. And it really isn't about some people say, well, I'm a Catholic. I'm like, okay, you still need spiritual care.
Yes, so it's a kind of evangelism.
I haven't been to church for years. Okay.
Yeah, it's an all-inclusive kind of, everybody can...
We can work with that. I'm not here to judge you. Can I help? Because I care. Yeah. Full stop. Yeah. And how do you feel about the state of the church in Reading generally? Or? Oh, what a big question. You asked some good questions. At the end. I think lockdown has actually helped me see things a little bit more clearly, and I'm quite encouraged. There's a lot of discouragement around, and a lot of people who are kind of feeling a little bit on a downer, but I'm quite encouraged because there are people, certainly in Reading, who just want to get the job done and can see outside of their peripheral four walls, and who are like, well, don't care what you call it, I don't care who's in charge, we actually need to feed some of these homeless people. And actually, if the churches don't open up to let people sleep in them when it's freezing cold outside, who else is going to do it? And Reading has a real heart for that. And so, I'm a tiny part of that story. It's a massive story, but it's a really good place. And I feel, rightly or wrongly, I feel that there's a move of God that's helping to change, helping us to do some things that hitherto were impossible or unthinkable or unmentionable. And we're having those conversations right now.
Yeah, so people's hearts have changed because of what we've been through. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and you know, so last night I was out with Reading Street Pastors, so if you see these bags under my eyes, that's because I didn't get home until 4 o'clock this morning.
I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. I'll do another interview with you. We were out till 4 o'clock last night, Reading Street Pastors, and that's a group of Christians who just come together from different churches. And we try and help some of the vulnerable that inevitably will happen during Reading's wonderful nighttime economy.
Yeah.
So there'll be some church people going, pubs and clubs, no, those are not. And I'm like, hey, these are young people, let the young people be young. And actually, they're not all young people.
I know. Yeah.
And actually, I'm like, okay, this is what we're dealing with. But this person, whoever they are and wherever they are, right now are vulnerable, cannot walk. Yeah. We will give them water, we will give them full blankets, we will help to get them in a taxi. Yeah, somewhere safe. And make sure they're safe. Because in the same way as we're out there trying to protect the vulnerable, there are other people who make it their career, their life choice to prey on those vulnerable people. And that's the world we live in. But again, back to spiritual care, we do it because we care. Great. One last question. Do you have a favourite hymn or song that you worship, song or hymn? Or any? The first one that comes to mind is fine. You don't need to. Thank you. Yeah. There's so many. I know. It's just the first one that comes up. It goes like this. Hallelujah, anyhow. Don't let trials get you down. And when trials come your way, hold your head up high and say, hallelujah, anyhow. Now, when we used to sing that as kids, you know, that would come with lots of, and people would get real happy. So I love the song, I love the dance, but the message is kind of like that's my go-to place when I'm feeling a little bit down, or I've got major struggles. I'm like, okay, I need a hallelujah. Some people need fag breaks. Josh gets a praise break. Hallelujah anyhow. Come on. Yes, great. Thank you so much for talking today. Thank you. No problem at all.